Okay, welcome to our this month's webinar, How to Become the Durable Athlete. So today we're going to discuss how we can become the durable athlete, what it means to be a durable athlete, how we can diagnose our weaknesses, the RRT pyramid, and then aerobic durability and muscular durability. And from what I understood from our brief conversation now, a lot of you want to focus on muscular durability and finish strong. The biggest challenge with endurance running is that most runners they train for fitness, and that's exactly why they finish destroyed or they DNF. But nobody is training for durability, and durability is so important. I would say it's even more important than VO2 max and speed, especially if you want to finish middle of the pack and you're not focusing on performance. Because durability is really measured when you're halfway through the race, when you're at mile 40, when you're 50 kilometers in, when you're um, 60 kilometers in. That's where durability is measured. Fitness is measured always at the start line. Durability is you measured when you're going down hills and it's like, oh shit, I can't go anymore. My quads, my legs, my back, everything hurts, and it's basically you can't go any longer. And I figured out in a very slow and expensive way of mistakes and trials of how to finish races strong, middle of the pack. Uh, and the main thing that I noticed from runners that finish strong and runners that finish destroyed or DNF is they don't focus first on durability. Yes, but durability comes with structure. What kind of training am I doing? What is the focus? A lot of runners they focus on a lot of volume, too much volume, a lot of high intensity work because we'll discuss it in a bit later why, um, but not enough structured work that will help them finish races strong. Obviously, I had my share of finishing destroyed in a couple of races, and I would say that the only reason I finish races is because of muscular durability and my mindset. Well, actually, mindset first and muscular durability. That's my biggest strength as an athlete. And even when I just couldn't, like Transcan Canaria a couple of years ago, I couldn't. Um, and yeah, I was plus luck. Obviously, luck helps, but I'm very cautious on downhills, not to slip. Um, Fitness will get you to the start line. You'll feel fresh. You'll feel ready to go, but durability will decide what happens in the second half of your race. And in this webinar, my hope is that after this webinar, you will able to diagnose where your weaknesses are and where your strengths are. And it's not kind of like thinking, oh, that I'm bad at this or I'm good at this. It's like, no, this is your weakness and this is your strength. And once we know our strengths and weaknesses, we can then tailor our training directly to what needs to be worked. The durable athlete has two dimensions. So we talk about durability, but I think a lot of times we focus so much on training, but we forget there is another element of being a human being, which is your personal life, your life at home with your partner, husband, wife, your dog. And I think I divide the durable athlete into parts. The obviously the performance aspect, the training, but then you have life durability as well. Is how are you outside trail running? Well, yeah, trail running. Do you if you're always tired, if you're always fatigued, if you don't have time to play with your kids, with your dog, with your wife, there's no point of pushing so much and doing all the trainings and all the races that we do if you can't perform in the other element of your lives. Because in my opinion, trail running and running in endurance, it should enhance our life. So that's why I think there's two dimensions to being the durable athlete beyond just racing and training. Um, in how I define the durable athlete is someone who is flexible enough, who can touch his toes, who can run in a great form after 50, 60K and reduce the risk of injury. Is someone who is healthy, not eating salads all day, but healthy on a general scale. And he understands that sleep and nutrition and rest is important as well, because we can train all day long, but if sleep, nutrition, and rest is not there, we are not going to recover. And I have someone that I know, I don't coach, but I know that he does races all the time, and he's a really good guy, really golden heart, but he doesn't recover. And he told me, "Oh, Alex, you know what? I found the solution." I was like, "Tell me, man." So, okay, I'm gonna eat more protein because you told me before that I need to eat protein. I was like, "Mate, you have races every freaking weekend. It's like protein is not gonna save you." And he's on the verge of injury. And I'm like, you can't be training so much without prioritizing sleep and recovery. And if you take anything out of this webinar, I'd like you to take this: adaptations happen in recovery. It doesn't matter how much you push, how much you train. If you don't recover, if we don't rest, we're not going to adapt. We are not going to grow in terms of fitness. So anything that you listen today or take away, just remember that adaptations happen in recovery. If you have poor sleep, there are times that I always say, like, it's better not to do a training, a run or a strength training or whatever. Just go and sleep at 8 o'clock, sleep more, rest more, eat nutritious food. It's so much better because you'll feel better, and the quality of your training will be so much better. Plus, obviously, you reduce risk of injury. So who is the durable athlete? A or B? A is overweight, obviously, 5 races a year, 6, 7 races a year, finishing destroyed, choosing cutoff times, and zero nutrition awareness. Or B, normal weight, mobility, mobile, flexible. I'm not saying that I'm very flexible, but I'm more flexible, rested and recovered, and does intentional training. So write in the comment boxes, who do you think is more durable? I finished 200K and a half. Okay. Who do you think is B? Of course, because A athlete is, unfortunately, don't think somebody will say A. He has more medals than the B athlete. He has more finisher t-shirts. He has more, I don't know, Strava miles. But in terms of health, it's not sustainable. What he's doing basically is borrowing against his own future. And what this happens when you're young, when you're 25, when you're 30, that's fine. Because, and in particular, the guy that I told you previously that has races week after week, he's still young. He's in his early 30s. So he's borrowing against his future, because when you're young, our body is more forgiving. But as you know, after 40, the body is not that forgiving. You need more time to recover. You need more time to rest, and injuries, they're there. Like any small niggle becomes bigger. So yeah, sleeping, eating properly. It's not just skipping. I used to hate mobility work. It's like, yeah, this stretching stuff is just nonsense. Why can I just go for a 1 hour run? But that was before I became a running coach, a PT, and I was like, yeah, it doesn't matter. But obviously I was younger, and as I got older, I realized, what, mobility is not non-negotiable. I wish I knew the stuff that I know now, but the durable athlete, he's not just fit to finish races, he's fit for life. And that's my whole mentality of, like, I don't want to train someone or share anything with you, for example, that will help you just to train for your races and finish strong. That's the goal. I want you to do that, but I want ideally, after this webinar or after you consume any type of content, that you feel stronger in your everyday life. You wake up, I want to say happier, but more with more energy, more energetic. So let's get into endurance. We all know VO2 max, lactate threshold, and running economy. So that's how the endurance world measures the sport. So VO2 max is your top ceiling of your aerobic engine. Lactate threshold is the upper edge of what you can sustain, and running economy is how you move efficiently. So everybody talks about VO2 max. A lot of people talk. That's the obsession. That's been the obsession for many years. The problem is that everything is measured when you're fresh. So running economy is measured when you're fresh. Let's go and do laps. So you're gonna see how you move when you're doing 5K or 10K, but it's not measured when you're doing 60K, 70K, VO2 max as well, lactate threshold as well. So everything is measured when you're fresh, but durability is the fourth variable that is measured when you're after you run for 10 hours, for 12 hours. And here's the problem, that ultras, they're not run fresh. Usually the first 50K, I always say, is just a warm-up run. And we all know that. If you've done 100K, you know that the first 50K, you're just warming up. After the 50K, that's when the real race starts. And after you run for, let's say, I don't know, 7, 8 hours, your body works in a different way. That's why you have to look at every single race that you have. What kind of conditions are you going? It's not just elevation, but what kind of conditions, what kind of terrain, because you need to train so your body adapts to those conditions. Okay, durability is how much of your fresh state fitness you can still access when the race gets hard. And the race gets hard usually, obviously halfway, sometimes before, but most of the time is after 50K. That's when people start DNFing, unless you have, I don't mention, but it's common sense. Unless someone gets injured, bad luck, or ankle roll, or just fell down, or just doesn't feel like it. But in terms of fitness-wise, aerobic durability or muscular durability, after 50K, that's when the problems start, nutrition problems start, and other challenges. And here's a great example. We have my dear friend Francesco here. He's fit on paper. He's super fast, and he mentioned previously in the comments he's mastered 50K. We started the race 3 weeks ago at UTV, and he was like, you know what, I'm gonna do it in 15 hours. And I was tempted because I was like, you know what, I think I can do it. But during the race, we were running, and at some point we were going uphill, and he was like, he was going fast. He was going fast, and I was like, I can actually go with him. And then I said, no, Alex, run your own race. So the challenge for Francesco, because he's super fast on 50K races, his ITRA score is higher than mine. He lives by the mountains, Slovenia, obviously. So on paper, he should have finished the race in 15 hours, 16 hours, whatever, doesn't really matter. But in reality, he didn't. He DNF'd because his quads gave up, his leg gave up, and he had to DNF before, I think before 50K, Francesco, correct me if I'm wrong. But the point is, you can be very fit, and I know very fit athletes like Francesco and other athletes, but when it comes to 100 milers and 100K, they can't, because the durability is not there. Their VO2 max is great, but they don't have the durability. Durability has two components. One is aerobic durability. So it's your engine stays efficient. Let's say you're running for, I don't know, 5 hours. So you're staying efficient, and you keep running. Cardiovascular efficiency, basically. Then this is a concept of cardiac decoupling. Think of your heart rate like this, and your pace is like that. So cardiac decoupling means if you run for, let's say, 90 minutes, if your heart rate goes up and then your pace stays the same, or it goes down, it means you have cardiac decoupling. Ideally, you want after 90 minutes your heart rate to be here and your pace to be here. And to explain it in a more detail, in a graph, you can see here how the red line goes up. So that means that in the second part of the run, long run, the person, the athlete, has cardiac decoupling. This means if you have this, you need to focus on aerobic durability first and leave muscular durability later for maybe another block, maybe after 12 weeks. And why it's important, you can actually, if you're using Training Peaks, you can actually see PA.HR. If it's basically data, if your data shows under 5%, it means you're aerobically fit. That's good. If it's above 5%, it means you're decoupled. So your heart is working way harder to keep the same pace. And this is just an example. If whatever you use, whatever platform you use, Training Peaks has it. I'm not sure about other platforms, but if you're not using Training Peaks, you can just do a long run, 90 minutes run, without a lot of elevation. Without at all elevation, and just on a track, ideally without traffic lights, and see how was your heart rate in the second part of the run. If your heart rate went up and your pace went down, you have to focus on aerobic durability. A lot of times, sometimes people say, okay, let me just focus on this element, but they don't know where their weakness is. But if you find out, let's say you can do it this week, what is your top priority, it will help you in your training, because you'll say, you know what, I need to focus on this element rather than this. Think of it as a vacuum cleaner. So a vacuum cleaner is your slow twitch muscles. So your slow twitch muscles are like a vacuum cleaner. So when you work hard, like super high intensity, like most probably Francesco does a lot, you're using fast twitch muscles. But when you're using your fast twitch muscles, your lactate is building up, and the vacuum cleaner needs to clean it. I'm metaphorically speaking, obviously, because it's spilling everywhere. So what you want is basically to build your vacuum cleaner as big as possible. That's your aerobic base. Because if it's a small vacuum cleaner, small aerobic base, the mess piles up, and you slow down. You feel, I can't move. You can barely move. you can barely move because obviously your vacuum cleaner is small. So a big vacuum cleaner helps you run fast at the same pace, at the same RP. So you keep running, you keep feeling good. So if you think of, oh, 1 second, somebody wants to come in. Okay. If you think of your aerobic base, think of a vacuum cleaner and think that you need to make it bigger. And how do you make it bigger? The easiest way to make your vacuum cleaner bigger, your aerobic base bigger, is easy long runs. That's something my friend Francesco probably is doing now. Because if you do constantly fast runs, high intensity runs, you're not building your aerobic base. So think of a vacuum cleaner and think, okay, now I need to be, and I would even go and say, you know what, don't focus on VO2 max. If you're not going for podium and you don't want to be in the top 10, top 20, top 50, let's say, I personally, to some athletes like Ken, we don't do really VO2 max. He's 58. His goal is not podium. His goal is to finish strong. I'll just focus on muscular durability. Yes, work a bit on aerobic base. Don't get me wrong, but that's like secondary. Focus on mobility under mobility stuff. Focus on other elements that will help him finish strong. So to make it bigger, you do to make your vacuum cleaner bigger. Easy long runs, low intensity. Low intensity is very important, and we'll talk in a bit why low intensity is important, but it's really important to know where your low intensity is. And the second part, if you want to make your system more powerful, you do intensity work. So it trains the lactate it trains the lactate shuttle proteins to move the waste faster. So basically, always when you run, think that there is waste accumulating here, and you want your vacuum cleaner to clean it up quickly. If it doesn't, it means it's small. We need to work more on that. Okay, high intensity is a trap. And the reason why it's a trap, because it feels good. And that's why all runners love it. You feel good, you feel fit, you feel that you're progressing fast, you feel stronger. But the problem is that your aerobic system adapts quicker. So once you do fast runs, you do high intensity, let's say for 2 weeks, you will adapt quicker. But here's the challenge. The gains that you gain, they're not the foundation. They're structural changes. And what happens is when you do a lot of high intensity, you're going up, 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 you feel fit, and then you plateau because your base is not built. The foundation of the house is not built. So you're building basically a roof, you're putting all the interior stuff in, but the foundation is not there. And that's what happens with high intensity work. And that's why people finish destroyed, or fast runners, when they switch into 100 milers, 100K, they can't cope because they've been doing high intensity for a half marathon, for 50K even. It's okay, it's good. You can push, but 100K you can't really push. And the reason why is low intensity means really low intensity. It means zone 1, and people don't like zone 1. A lot of especially men, they don't like zone 1 because you feel unproductive. You feel, shit, it's embarrassingly slow. So aerobic training makes your heart bigger. Think of it that you're literally growing new tissues. Like, there's so many things that are happening in your body when you're doing aerobic training, but they take time to build. And that's why you can't jump from 10K to 100K within 6 weeks. Of course you can, obviously you can, but it's not healthy, or you're not doing yourself a favor. And when we see all these posts on Instagram from influencers, I went from, couch potato to 100K, it's like, I feel bad. I feel bad not for the person. I feel bad for their bodies, because what they do is they just destroy their bodies. And especially most of them, they're younger, they're in their 20s and their early 30s, and they're like, I'm doing this, but it's like, you're destroying your body, man. You're gonna pay for it later. And the problem will be later is that they won't be saying, it's because I did that challenge and I progressed so fast. Even in teenagers, I was reading a report from British Athletics. There's some teenagers running so fast on track. They're destroying their bodies from they're destroying their bodies from so young age. So when they become 20, 22, 21, 22, they will plateau. So that's why you need to take time to build your engine, to build your aerobic base. And athletes who train with high intensity, they don't give time for that adaptations to happen. So their vacuum cleaner basically stays small all the time. So they're training and they're coming back. When when you're going on a hill and you're feeling like, oh, I can't go anymore because it's I'm tired. Most of the time, even coaches, and I had coaches in the past, what they say, the first thing and what I thought is like, you need more hill training, you need more intensity, more suffering. Because I thought, well, yeah, you don't live by the hills, you need more hill training and more intensity and more suffering. But actually, looking at science and looking at how we can become more durable, this is wrong. This is not the right way to go forward, because the vacuum cleaner is too small to handle the mess that is being made. So if you think of your vacuum cleaner, that you're asking it to go up a mountain, let's say, and it's 5K, and the elevation is, I don't know, 1,000 up. You go going Snowdon. Snowdon is the mountain in Wales. 1,000 meters of vert, and you're asking something your body to do that it can't handle because the vacuum cleaner is too small. And this is what happens a lot of times when people push and do ultras, and they're pushing, and they feel destroyed. Is because their vacuum cleaner is so small. You're asking your body to do magic. And yeah, of course, some people go, they suffer, they finish, and they get the medal, and that's fine. Um, but the aerobic base couldn't support the effort that you're asking. Is if I go tomorrow and I want to do a marathon, um, let's say I want to do, I don't know, 2.5 minutes, 2.5 hours marathon, I'm going to be pushing my ceiling so much. I'm going to feel destroyed. I'm not going to be able to make it because I'm pushing. My body can't handle that. I'm not trained for that type of speed, and I'm not trained for that type of training, right? So it's the same thing. If I'm going to go and do, let's say, I don't know, um, Cocodona 250, let's say, right, 400 kilometers. Right now, I can't because I haven't trained that system. I can in a year if I train the right system. So yeah, think of it. Roof is race performance, upper floors is high intensity work, and foundation is aerobic base. So um, if you are, let's say, a runner that wants to finish strong, I would say let's focus on aerobic base. I'm focusing always on aerobic base. I'm actually, and my coach, my running coach, she told me like you have to do more of the other high intensity stuff because I'm so. But that's the thing with understanding yourself. I know why. I know why I'm what are my strengths and what are my weaknesses. I'm very conservative in my racing and in my even UTV, for example. Last 3 weeks ago that I mentioned, it was the first time that I said, you know what, I'm going to push myself. I'm going to go faster, and I did. I finished 23rd or I don't know 24th in my age category, and that was I really wasn't pushing that hard. But the reason why is because my durability is strong. I know that my muscular durability is strong, and I can finish races strong in the middle of the pack, not chase cutoff times. But the reason why is because I just hold myself back. But that's knowing yourself and knowing where you need to push. So I know, like with my coach, we're working on other elements that are my weaknesses. So it's understanding like my aerobic base is cool, is great, but my upper floors they need work. And my obviously my roof will be a byproduct, obviously, of my upper floors. Okay, muscular durability. In simple way to understand muscular durability is how you're running after 50K. That's it. It's how you're running when fatigue accumulates and is knocking on your door. Is your form collapsing? Are you running out of, well, you won't be running out of breath, but your form will be collapsing. Your quads are giving up. So hips are dropping on technical terrains, stuff like that. Like you can, if you record yourself, maybe not during the race, but if you can, someone records you, you can see that your hips are dropping. You can see that your strides are shorter. So if you have shorter strides on not the uphill, downhill, but if you have shorter strides on flat, it means you'll need more strides, more energy, and etc. And other stuff are going to happen. How many times did you see a hill in front of you and your legs gave out before your lungs did? Comment in the chat box, in the meeting chat. Um, Robin, your Cocodona is on your list in the next 3 years. Amazing, love it. I'm actually thinking about Cocodona as well, so maybe we. Yeah. So, how many times did your legs gave out before your lungs did? Zero, always. Okay, Ginetta, that's very good. Always. Do you know why? Well, I assume now that we talked about aerobic, your heart, you have a very good engine, so your heart rate, Alex. So your aerobic capacity is good, but your muscular durability, yeah, Andrew, a couple of times. It happens. So, and the reason why this happens in this world is because traditional training, what it does, it doesn't train for durability. All the and a lot of coaches as well, what they add is what they focus is they add volume. So they say, okay, more sessions, more higher intensity. And when that doesn't work, the usual answer from even apps, AI, everyone is focused on one element, which is traditional training, which is good, it's not bad. But for ultras, you need other elements. Durability is training the body when it's tired. And something that I learned from my swimming coach when I was a teenager, I was swimming professionally. I remember he was Russian, as you can understand. Russian coaches, they're very strict, and I hated swimming. I didn't like it. He always put, I didn't understand obviously back then. I just understood it now in the past couple of maybe months. He was always pushing me to do more laps, more speed in the second half of the training. So let's say our training was 60 minutes. So the 30 minutes, obviously, it was intense. But the second, and he always told me, Alex, you have to push in the end. That's where I don't remember if he said the word durability, but that I just remember how hard it was, and now I connected the dots that when you push in the second half, so second half of the race, second half of your training, second half of your strength training, that's when you build durability, because you're training on tired legs, you're training on tired body, and durability is built when you're feeling tired. When we speak about running and training the muscles that will help us build muscular durability, so running, quads, calves, hip flexors, right? But this is the second problem that nobody talks about. Running only trains specific muscles that we already use, right? So quads, calves, and hip flexors. We're using them. So if you go into the gym and you train them, basically you are overtraining, if you think about it. So you're running, let's say, 6 times per week, and you're going to the gym 4 times per week or 3 times per week, and you're doing quads, calves, and hip flexors. But what we want is to systematically train the muscles that help other muscles that support your running movement. And those muscles are most probably they're very undertrained, and those muscles are the muscles that we want to train, and those muscles that will help us after 50K, late in the race, to perform. So let's have a look. Adductors, for example, they control lateral stability on every foot strike, but with traditional squats, with traditional deadlifts, you're not training adductors, but they control lateral stability. So every time you go down hills, every time you go up hills, they're controlling them. Gluteus medius. So not the glutes. A lot of people, they think the glutes is one. The gluteus medius is on the side. So it keeps your pelvis level during single leg loading. So you're going down hills. So you have to find exercises and things that will help you strengthen the muscles that you're not using when you're running. And this by running activates your glutes, but not enough that after 6 hours you feel strong. That's why we need to do that's why you need to do the stuff that doesn't the muscles that don't that we are not training when we are running. Tibialis anterior, shin splints. A lot of runners, they have this injury, right? But the problem is they're not training them. You can do tibialis raises and focus on doing full range of motion under load. The muscle that controls foot strike and shin stability is one of the, I wouldn't say the most, they're all important muscles, but it's really important because obviously if you look at top 10 injuries that runners have, is shin splints. The whole system breaks down when those muscles fails. So your hips drop, your knees track inward, foot strike deteriorates, your form collapses. This is me bonking and finishing, going towards the finish, destroyed a couple of years ago at Peak District. The reason why I wasn't training those muscles, I had no idea. And you have to always think that running trains your quads, your calves, and your hip flexors. RRT, which will go now, trains what running ignores. You want to focus on what it ignores, and those muscles will help you finish strong. Because if they're undertrained, obviously they're not going to help you, and they're even small intrinsic muscles on your foot, bottom of your foot, so your heels, for example. So that's why I'm not going to go into this now because it's a whole conversation. I'm not suggesting running barefoot, but walking barefoot, doing lacrosse ball exercises. Like I have a lacrosse ball here, so every time you're sitting or you're brushing your teeth in the bathroom, or it's like you small details like that will help you increase strength. So how we diagnose this, we need to understand where is this, our strengths and our weaknesses are. But before we go into diagnosis, let's look at two key physiological breakpoints and where a lot of runners spend their time. So you have breakpoint one, lactate threshold one. So this below this point, you're running aerobically. Zone one, zone two. This is endurance. This is you're running and you're burning fat efficiently, and you're producing very, very little lactate. Now you can hold this effort for hours, and this is how we run our ultras, and it feels like slow, and a lot of runners they're guilty. Then the second threshold, lactate threshold L2, is above zone 3, lower zone 4. So above this point, lactate accumulates more. Now, where most runners spend their time is in the middle. Now, between LT1 and LT2, there's a gray zone. And that gray zone is when we are running not hard enough and not easy enough. So what it means basically, we are running, it feels hard, like, yeah, I feel I'm doing work, but it's not hard enough to go into zone 4, into tempo work, let's say. And it's not easy enough to build your aerobic base. So the problem is, if we spend time in zone 3, in the gray zone, as I call, you're never going to build your aerobic base, and you're never going to build your intensity. So that's why what you can do, let's say from tomorrow, see what your zones are, see what your heart rate is. Just do a test and see, okay, this is my zone 1. I usually recommend using RPE, but connect RPE with your zone. So RPE, let's say 5. What zone is that? Just figure out the numbers. You don't, if you live if you live by like Francesco on trails by the mountains, it's a bit harder because on trails you can't really use a lot of zones because obviously of terrain, up and down, downhills and uphills. But if you have flats, and this test they should be done on flats, not on without elevation, it's just to understand your RP, how much you're putting, how much effort you're putting, and how easy you're going. And most of the times, 99%, myself included, we're going way above zone 1, zone 2. We're going into the gray zone. Moderate is where the durability is never built. So this is how it should feel. Easy below LT1, conversational, feel almost too easy. You could run for hours. The gray zone is hard. It's comfortably hard. You can talk, feels productive, but it's not. It builds fatigue without any adaptation. Is the zone that most runners leave. And obviously, zone 4, LT2 is hard. That's threshold runs, VO2 max, and yeah, you need more time to recover. So the other reason why you don't want to spend time here in zone 3 is because you do one run, you don't really recover, you go and do the second run, and then you don't have a quality session. So usually, like when I put runs, there's 1 or 2 quality sessions per week. That's it. You can have 6 runs, but it's 1 or 2. So what you want to do zone 1, zone 2, and then when you have the quality session, you give 100% and you recover until your quality session comes in. Depends how you plan your training. The mindset is you have to recover before your quality sessions, and in your quality sessions you give it your all. The other element of the durable athlete, which is huge, is doing a movement assessment. A movement assessment can be done with a PT or a run coach that is a PT or strength and conditioning coach. The reason why you want to see where you have muscle imbalances, we all have muscle imbalances. I've done hundreds of movement assessments in the gym online, and I haven't met a human being that's like, oh, it's like super flexible. Even I've done a yoga instructor. So I've done a movement assessment on her. She's very flexible, of course, common sense, but mobility under load, the muscles were not there. She had no strength. But yeah, I think she was the most flexible I've ever done an assessment. But as you can see, for example, Ken, you can see that he's using his anterior post chain. So he's using a lot of his front muscles when he's doing a squat, right? When we are running, we're using our posterior chain, so our back muscles. That's the muscle that, well, we're using all the muscles, but that's the dominant one. So what this tells me is when he's running, he's overcompensating. Another athlete, you can see the her shoulder mobility is not that great. So what this means, how this translates into running. So if your shoulders are tight, and if you're working in an office, most probably you have obviously your crouched, you're using your anterior muscles a lot. So what this means, when you go for a run, your shoulders are tied in, so you don't let a lot of your breathing is more is harder because you're like that. So what you want is to do something that will open your chest up. So there are exercises that you can do, like negative push-ups. You go down and then you hold for 5 seconds, so the chest opens. Obviously you need time, you need like 8 to 12 weeks. And then when you run, the air coming from here will be going easier, so you'll have more oxygen to breathe rather than like that. It's small changes that will help, small changes that will help you run more easily. And I won't go into detail with Ken as an example, but you can see, if you do a movement assessment, you will see yourself what is your dominant sides. And when I do a movement assessment, I do a report to see what's the top priority: high, medium, critical. For example, single leg stability in this athlete, it's critical. It's like 6 seconds balance. It's just, yeah. This athlete here, for example, critical flag, left and right pelvic drop. Basically, this athlete is on a verge of an injury, like maybe a race away from an injury, maybe 2 races, pushing the luck. But this is why it's so important to do running form assessment, to see how you run, and to see a movement assessment. This is a running form assessment from an athlete, 29% excessive flexion. So that means that, well, the injury is nearly there. Another 100K race, maybe not even 100, maybe 50K race, she will get injured. And especially if she's over 40, 45, she's over 45, she'll get injured in the next 3 months, I guarantee. Obviously, we spotted it now, and she won't, hopefully, but obviously you never know. But now that we know that, we can obviously work on that and improve the stuff that we need to do, mobility, strength, etc. Single leg balance, eyes closed. We don't have time, but what I suggest after this webinar, do a single leg balance test. What it is, you stand up, close your eyes, lift one leg up, put a timer on, and see how many seconds you can stand with single leg balance, and then do on the other side. You need to do more than 30, I won't say 30 minutes. You need to do more than 30 seconds. So for example, this athlete, she has 6 seconds on the right side and 24 seconds on the left side. This means the difference is 4 times difference between each side. This is crazy. The reason why is because every time you go on trails, you're just an injury away. You'll slip, you'll fall, because proprioception, proprioceptive. So what it means is our shoes, our legs, our brains for when we're walking, when we are running. And the reason why this happens is when we wear all the shoes that are cushioned. I have nothing against cushioned shoes. I wear cushioned shoes, but I wear daily barefoot shoes. Is because we lost touch with the ground, and this is a huge element in training and becoming durable. But we don't have enough time to cover this. But I highly recommend to walk barefoot, do barefoot exercises. There's tons of them. You can Google, YouTube, but develop your intrinsic muscles. It will help you so much. So in this case, for example, with this athlete, on trails or uneven terrain, it becomes critical. A 6-second right balance means that the right foot landing on variable terrain is full risk. This is the most urgent stability finding in the assessment. So with the single leg balance, basically the body knows where it goes, and without visual input. That's why it's so important to do, and you can do it obviously after this webinar. And she's been cycling for 30 years and swimming, so her cardiovascular fitness is great, but that doesn't translate into muscular durability and proprioception. Running resistant training. So before I tell you what it is, and I know some of you know, and I think some of you downloaded the guide, this is not stretching. Stretching is passive. You stretch a muscle, but it doesn't translate into running directly. It just does temporarily relief, like, yeah, you just stretch the muscle. And it's not generic strength training where you do exercises for bodybuilders. This is specific exercises for trail running. And I'm not saying that strength training is bad, obviously not. All I'm saying is use strength training. This is strength training, but for runners, which means functional strength training, because we're all functional human beings. We're going right, left. Bodybuilders and bodybuilding exercises, they're one dimension. So you're going up and down, right? Trail running and life in general is not up and down. You have shopping bags on the right, you have kids on the left, you have the dog on the left, you're moving right and left. So that's why it's so important to do functional strength training, well, RRT, or let's say you don't know RRT, someone that it's just we are functional human beings. You can't be training like if you look at bodybuilders, they can't they can't wipe their ass because they're so tight. There's zero mobility because they lift heavy. They do this, the squats 400 kilos, or I don't know, deadlifts like for they lift heavy. Yes, they're strong, but they're not mobile. They can't move. They can't function as human beings. And that's why to become the durable athlete, we need this system, which is mobility under load, number one, stability, and durability. I'll go one by one. um, the difference between a traditional strength training and an RRT is every single exercise and every single pairing. So if you do a superset, one exercise and another exercise without rest is intentional. Is not you write on the internet, give me an exercise for I'm a runner and a program for running. This is intentional based on what your strengths and weaknesses are. So for example, you wouldn't do, I don't know, squats if you're I don't know, you had an injury last year or 2 years ago. You have to be very intentional about it. So mobility under load, passive flexibility is when you do something and you ask nothing from your body. You're not asking it to perform. You stretch your hamstrings, the tissues they become bigger, but they don't really change. What you want, mobility under the main priority of mobility under load is to engage your nervous system, because when you do stretches your nervous system is not engaged. When you do mobility under load, you're lifting weights, you're adding weights, so your nervous system is engaged. So that's what we want. So for example, you're moving through full range of motion. That's when you activate, that's when your muscles are activated under tension, not just when you do stretching. And that's where your nervous system is engaged. And you want your nervous system engaged because guess what? When you're running at the 60th kilometer and after, I don't know, 3,000, 4,000 meters of vert, your nervous system is very engaged. So that's exactly the mechanics that you want to have in your plan. For example, Romanian deadlift. This is the exercise that I said, deficit pull-ups. This is if you work in an office or you've been working in an office for many years, most probably you'll have tight shoulders. This exercise will help you untighten deficit pull-ups. Then let's say a single leg Romanian deadlift. Romanian deadlifts, they're good, but if you do a single leg Romanian deadlift, you have single leg stability at once, you have your hip is under load, and your nervous system is fully engaged. And that obviously transfers to your running. Stability. This is running specific exercises where it differentiates all other programs. So stability exercise and more stability exercise in traditional strength training in bodybuilding is bilateral and sagittal, but two legs moving up and down. But trail running is not bilateral. Trail running is right left. It's good for general fitness. It's good to make you fitter. Yes. So if you're, for example, when people come to the gym, let's say, and they want, I just want to get fitter. Cool, that's good. We start them with squats, deadlifts, form, and all that stuff. But you're training for an ultra. You want to become durable, right? So you're not a beginner in a gym. You're a trail runner that wants to finish 100K strong and some 50K. Think of it loading one leg at a time, not just two legs at the same time on unstable ground. So you're running on unstable ground, one leg at a time. Trail running is a single leg sport. And I think a lot of times people forget that it's not a two-leg sport, it's a single leg sport. So for example, a PT, a strength and conditioning coach, he'll give you a Bulgarian split squats, which is good. It's great, amazing exercise. But what I would say, let's do rotational Bulgarian split squats, because you're loading the leg, obviously you're adding load, plus you're adding rotation. So it's great. It helps you're still doing the same exercise, similar exercise, but you're adding rotation because you're strengthening your hip and your core, because running, guess what? When you run, your core needs to be really strong. Copenhagen planks. I love this exercise. I wouldn't, if you're starting out, I wouldn't recommend. This is an advanced Copenhagen plank. To make it, if you're going to start doing Copenhagen plank, start with half leg and without the kettlebell. Hold for 30 seconds, and then progress to 45 seconds and a minute. It will help you dramatically. You'll see if you do this exercise for three times per week for the next 8 weeks, you'll see dramatic changes in your running. If you don't do anything else, the reason why is because the abductors, we never work the abductors, and if you haven't been going to the gym or doing the Copenhagen planks, you will see that it will improve your running because running barely touches it. The abductors, we're not using them at all, and the adductors, they control lateral stability on technical terrain. So that prevents actually ankle rolls. So the muscles here, they prevent ankle rolls because they become when they become stronger, they'll prevent if you're going on an event terrain, let's say you're I don't know, you stepped on a stone or somewhere, it will prevent it because the muscle will be stronger to keep it afloat, to keep it a bit more straight. I'm not saying it's bulletproof, but I'm saying it will help you. The chances of you getting injured on trails will be less. Um, Single leg step downs. So there are different variations of exercises. So think of slow eccentric, single leg exercises specifically for when you're going downhill, so your quads. The eccentric loading is important, but and the other element is important is where are you right now in fitness? I don't know. So that's why you have to think, okay, are you here? What level are you? Because you can't be doing, let's say, step downs with dumbbells right now. You have to take it step by step. Okay, the last step is durability. Durability, I divided into two phases. The reason why is because one is fatigue resistance. It's to maintain form after 50K. And the second part is reactive power, so plyometrics. But the second part needs to be earned. So phase one, trap bar. So if you are over 40, guy or a woman, but the guy, if you're over 40, don't use, I wouldn't recommend deadlifts. Trap bar, much more safer. You don't need to do deadlifts. Trap bar is safer for lower back. So what you want to do is trap bar, then you add a rotational split squat. So basically what you create is deadlifts create, well, trap bar creates posterior chain fatigue. And then guess what you're doing with the rotational split squats or Bulgarian split squat? You ask the body to perform what you're going to be asking the body to perform on trails, rotational movement while you're fatigued. So you don't do a rest between trap bar and you do a superset. So you do, let's say, I don't know, 10 trap bar deadlift, and then you do another 15 on, oh, not 15 too much, 10 on each side. So you're performing an exercise specific to trail running. You're training basically exactly how you'll feel at mile, I don't know, 40. I won't go into science but there's a lot of conversation. Oh, some people say, some coaches say you shouldn't be doing high rep, you shouldn't be doing low rep. Look, the science is there. The science says that muscular adaptations happen during high reps, so 20 plus, and during low reps. So I'm not suggesting you do 40 reps tomorrow, and I'm not suggesting you do 8. You have to see where you are right now. I'll suggest start with low reps. I mean, when you do low reps, you're going to obviously put more weight. When you do 40 reps, you're going to do less reps. So that's muscular endurance. But it all depends where you're right now. So the science shows, if you look at science, it shows that muscular endurance adaptations happen across the entire range. Because some people are like, no, it just happens when you do 8 or 10. No. The second phase is plyometrics, but this is really, really important. If you have excess body fat, you shouldn't be doing plyometrics because you'll have tendon problems. Obviously, you're loading your tendons, you're adding more weight, and you just get injured. Plyometrics, I didn't write it in the guide that I created, RRT, just because I was a bit scared of writing it, and then someone who has a bit overweight start doing plyometrics and get themselves injured, and then come to me and say, well, I did what you wrote. And it's like, well, obviously, I don't know your your muscle imbalances and where you are. So I wouldn't recommend plyometrics. Even to some athletes, I don't recommend plyometrics just because it's a bit risky. The risk to reward, like, let's say Francesco, yeah, he needs to be doing plyometrics. He's fast, he will help. But someone like, I don't know, Ken, for example, he's not really doing plyometrics. We don't need that from him because there are different goals, different age, and different history in terms of fitness history. I'm not saying that you should be doing 40 reps or 8 reps. I'm not prescribing because it's a magic number. I'm just saying that when you do more reps, you're training and you're more fatigued under those when you're doing those 4 reps. So the durable athlete is not born; he's built. You have the system, you have the 3 layers of the durability, but you have to think whenever you, and from now on, when you're training, think what is the intention of this run? What's the intention of this exercise? What's the intention of? You have to have an intention behind every single run. And the pyramid, the durable athlete pyramid, is just a method. It's not the goal. It's just a method how you can train. The goal is to become a different kind of athlete that understands, like, you know what, let me focus on foundation. Let me focus on nutrition first. Let me see how many carbs I'm eating per day. Let me see how much protein I'm eating. Let me see how, like, this is the world-class basics. And I remember when I was doing my PT Academy, my not trainer, sorry, he's the teacher. He was constantly telling us, like, people want all these fancy exercises, and obviously I want all these fancy exercises. I'm like, but we all want those fancy exercises. We said no, world-class basics. And it really stuck with me, and I took that mindset from him, because if we don't have world-class, if we don't have sleep, we don't hydrate, we don't eat enough protein and enough fiber and enough carbs, and we don't focus on our protein or our macros when we are racing, everything else doesn't really matter. You can train all day long. I used to be that athlete. I remember I had a coach back then. I was training for Ironman. I remember I felt like, shit, I need to do more. He would put one training, I'll just do more. It's because I was scared that I wasn't doing enough. But I didn't focus on the freaking foundation. I was eating, snacking, and I was overweight. It's like, if I knew, not if I knew, if I would speak to Alex, that was, I don't know, 5 years ago, doing training for Ironman to lose weight, that's my goal. That was my goal back then. I'd say, no, just focus on what you're eating, focus on your sleep, focus on your stress. That's the most important thing. Um, the durable athlete is not defined by how many miles you have on Strava, how many miles you're doing, how many races you're doing. It's, for me, the durable athlete is defined, how do you recover in 48 hours? How is your quality sessions? Are they quality, or are they just sessions just to tick them off? And it's so much better to do maybe less but higher quality. Maybe you do one less run and you focus on mobility. Maybe you do one less run and you focus on RRT. Maybe you do strength training. Maybe you hire APT and you do a movement assessment. Maybe, I don't know. I don't know what your strengths and weaknesses are. You have to write down and have to be really honest with yourself. And there was times, like in the past year, I said, maybe Alex, you don't do a race this year. And I was doing many races like crazy. And then I stopped. I said, no, I just have 2 races. I want to be more mobile. And my whole goal, and we spoke a bit in the beginning, my whole goal is when I'm 60, when I'm 70, I want to be running. I want to be mobile. I want to be a human being that is functional and still moving, not just getting all these medals and running. That's why, like, now for me, mobility and my RT sessions, they're a priority. And sometimes when it's like we don't have time, we all have time. It's like I'm running out, or I have a session or something. It's like, no, mobility is a must. You have to. I want to be flexible, because everything translates into running, yes, but it translates into everyday life. And when you're more mobile, when more flexible, when you have that energy, you just walk and you live in a different way. And I used to be really proud, and you can see there's some posts that I had in the past. I was proud that I would suffer and finish a race. But you don't get a medal for suffering. You go into a care home when you're, I don't know, 80, 70, and you have a stick and you can't walk. That's what you get when you don't focus on the foundation. Um, we ran out of time, but the last thing I'll say, and we'll have a Q&A in a minute. The last thing I would say, there's certain things that you can do, like small gains. You're brushing your teeth, like I said already, with the lacrosse ball. You can do Tibialis raises while brushing your teeth. While I'm taking my dog Chanel for a walk, and she does her stuff, piss and whatever she does, I'm doing a single leg raises. You can be effective, and that's the whole thing about structure and being effective. You don't need to spend your life in the gym. You don't need to be spending 2 hours in the gym. You can do three sessions per week, an hour, and then you can do every day small, like 10-15 minutes. We all have 10-15 minutes. And one thing I would suggest, if you say now, oh, but Alex, I have kids, I have this, I have that, we all have time. See how much time you spend on your phone. I have an athlete that I'm coaching. The guy is traveling. He's in San Francisco, California today, I think. Yeah, California. Tomorrow he'll be in New York, and the day after he'll be in London. Then he'll go somewhere else. He's traveling all the time, like literally, and I'm not exaggerating. And he's one of the most consistent athletes that I have. I never see a red dot on Training Peaks or never on the other app that we have for nutrition and other stuff. I'm like, that's amazing. This guy is super busy. I mean, traveling obviously, has a family, business, blah blah blah, and he never skips a session. It's like that's incredible. And to find time, I always say, look at your phone. How much time do you spend on your phone? What other things you can take away, Netflix or I don't know, something, just to add 30 minutes of strength session or RRT sessions or mobility. That's it. I don't know. I think some of you already have. I have two guides. You can download them for free. Big Ultra, how to finish your Big Ultra Strong, Not Destroyed, and RRT. There are two links. You can screenshot this and download them and read them. I will update them at some point and add more stuff. But yeah, I think they're great guides. I think they'll help you. And yeah, in terms of if you want coaching and if you want personalized coaching and see movement assessment and all that stuff, always you can reach out, send me an email or go to my website. There's a form, fill it out. I have right now a couple of spots available. And other than that, let's go into Q&A. What are your questions? A lot of years in racing and TB. Just trying, yeah. But flat tires. Well, Francesco, you know what? You're self-aware, man. You're very self-aware, and I'm very happy and grateful to know you, because when I asked you to post to do that video, not a lot of people would say yes, because obviously I'm saying that you're DNF, but you're like, yeah, of course, we can all learn. I learned from you, obviously, and I think other people that now the webinar, the reel that I did, we can all learn from each other.
Sure.
Sebastian, okay, also check out the guides. Yeah, check out the guides. It will help you. Cool. Have a good night, Sebastian. Do you have any questions? You can, in regards to durability. Was everything clear?
Yeah, super
Did you
clear.
understand the importance of decoupling and vacuum? What's the biggest takeaway, I would say? Okay, what's the biggest
I
takeaway?
can break the ice, Alex.
Okay.
Yeah, the biggest takeaway for me is actually what I wrote in the chat, that actually I'm not having any gym session. So my brain was saying, okay, you have to run, so you have to train running, no? Because this is what you are training for. So the biggest takeaway for me is that one, that actually there are other maybe secondary muscles, or I don't know how to call them, that are actually helping you more than 2 more hours per week of running. So this is the key point to me. That is maybe not so immediate, no?
Yeah. No, that's very good. I think you'll see a huge difference once you start doing strength training, RT, whatever, functional strength training. I think you'll see a huge difference, especially you having you being so fit and so fast. You'll just see it immediately. And I would suggest in phase one, just because I know you and I saw your body type, I would say you have to do a bit less reps, so 8 to 10 reps, and I'd actually work on strength, not as much as now rotational stuff. So, for example, when you do Bulgarian split squats, but rotational, you won't be lifting as heavy because obviously you're doing rotational stuff. For you, I would say in the first 8 weeks, do Bulgarian split squats. Just focus on weight. Obviously, don't go crazy, but like have progressive overload as you have in running. Start with whatever weight you start, like 10 kilos, go to 12, 14, and then slowly. And once you build that strength, then add rotational stuff. Just, yeah. And then squats as well. Look at your form. How do you squat? How do you do deadlifts? Do all these compound exercises just to build the foundation. If you didn't do any gym training, I think that's step number one. I would say 2 exercises that are main lifts will be deadlifts and squat, let's say, and then I'll add accessory exercises that are from RRT, stability, rotational stuff, but focus on building the muscles first, because If you don't have muscles, then well, the rotational stuff won't really help you because you can't lift. So if you can't lift, if you can't deadlift your body weight, how many kilos are you? 70, 60?
Yeah,
That's the-
67. Yeah.
67. Yeah, you can. If you have to deadlift 67, 70 kilos and squat 70 kilos, at least your body weight. Then obviously I didn't speak dead hang. How long can you hold the dead hang? It needs to be, for men is 2 minutes, for women is 1 minute. So if you can't dead hang for more than a minute, well, you have to work on your grip strength. That means farmers carries. That will help your grip strength. Is not just trail running for your pose. Grip strength is longevity.
Yeah.
So stuff like that. Add accessory exercises that are rotational, and yeah, then single leg balance as well. Like after today, do a test and see. Yeah. Okay, who else has a question? Andrew, I'm doing a USK online ultra running course at the moment, and I hope I'll be running well into my 80s and 90s. That's amazing. USK is a great course to take. Your information side, how do you feel about the Norwegian method? Andrew, I don't really, I'm neutral. If it works for some, it works for some. I had someone I was coaching and he said he read it and he was doing it and he got injured. I'm like, cool. And all these, there are different methods. Some work for some people. I just focus on the foundation. They're good. You can do the Norwegian method. They're very good. But it depends where you are right now, what you want to achieve. It all comes down, what is your goal? For Francesco is one goal. For Ken is a different goal. Ken is 58. Francesco is what, 35, 33. Yeah, it's two different goals. He's going for performance. Ken is wants to finish strong. 58. So it all depends. And plus history. What's your history what's your training age? One of the first things I ask an athlete is, what's your training age? If your training age is how many years in total have you trained? So for example, I don't know, if someone trained when they're a teenager, like or they played football sport, that's training age. So you add your training age, and then you say, okay, if he has, let's say, less than 2 years, that's a new athlete, that's a beginner. You need to really focus on foundation. So it all depends. And you're doing US, of course, they'll be talking about, don't remember if they talk about training age, but they'll be talking about looking at the athlete from a holistic perspective. Do you have any more questions? So you'll become a coach, Andrew. You're doing the course.
Still muted, Andrew.
You're muted. You're still muted.
How's that? Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, brilliant. Yeah, I've sort of I'm due to do the exam in about August time.
Yeah.
So I've done modules, etc. My background, my history, I used to run quite a bit when I was in my teenage years. I ran a 1:15 half marathon many years ago, and used to do the Across Wales walk. I've been in the forces, etc., etc. I've got a diploma in sports therapy. I've got lots of different things, and boxercise, kickboxercise instructor, etc., etc. So yeah, I've done lots of physical things, exercise. My inspiration was my PE teacher by a guy named Peter Herbert. Last year, at the age of 80, he entered the Hyrox at Cardiff.
Wow.
The oldest guy in the whole competition, and he's always been an inspiration to me. He did the whole thing in about 2 hours 24, and yeah, fantastic, absolutely fantastic. And if I can keep it going at his at my, sort of 80 years of age, doing something like that, or doing especially with the ultra running, yeah, that's fine. That's all I want.
That's amazing. That's incredible. That's incredible. You'll find you'll see. Obviously, you'll have a history in sports. Yeah, there's so many things. There's so many methods and books. It's yeah. You find your own way, and I think you find for me the most important thing is not what I want and what like yeah, I think this is like the athlete. What do you want? what is your
Yeah.
history, and then just putting the, I think you can never, I had this thought a couple of days ago, it's like you can never lose really in life if you put clients, athletes first, and leave your ego aside and just be of service. And it's like, what does Andrew want? Does Ken want? Okay, they want this. Obviously, there is science behind. So if they want to do all, or Francesco tells me I want to do only high intensity, cool. But you know, you want to, it's just putting people first and being of service. That's my mindset. So if someone like Ben, he told me about the Norwegian method. I wasn't coaching him when he got injured, just to clarify that. I'm like, cool. If it works for you, I'm happy. But I
That's
wouldn't
right.
coach him with, yeah.
I've got two guys that who have sort of running the Pembrokeshire Coast Path 50K with me now in a few weeks' time, and yeah, I've not coached them as such, but I've given them advice because they're doing exactly the things that you were saying, we were talking about earlier on, in that they're trying to do things too fast without getting that foundation, without getting that base. So increasing the mitochondria and the muscle, etc. You know the science behind it, and but it's actually trying to make them understand that, because sometimes they're too focused on going too fast too soon and not having that longevity later on. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, but that's okay. I think that's, I mean, that's another athlete under 35. They don't think of under 40. They don't think of. I wasn't thinking about longevity. Like in my 20s, like what longevity? I need the medals. I need the Strava kudos, man. I don't care about longevity. I just want that. Now, as I got older, obviously, I was like obviously becoming coach and learning from different other coaches. Even when I had coaches, I always had coaches. They were telling me, Alex, you should do this. I was like, no. So I think it's just that's why I coach. I mostly coach men over 35 and women, but mostly like over 35 who are type A personalities. So it's like, yeah, we're on the same page. We care about longevity. But yeah, cool.
One of the guys I've got is he's 55, and he still feels that he wants to keep up with himself at 45, and you can't. Yeah, you've got to train smarter rather than
Oh. We are all on our own journeys, and I think it's being honest with ourselves and honest with athletes and people who want to do ultras and stuff. It's like just tell them this is where you are right now, and cool.
That's it.
Yeah,
So,
cool. So do you have? Does anyone have any more questions? And we'll wrap it up. I guess no. Well, I'd like to thank you all, Andrew, Francesco, Zinetta, Oscar, Bernadette. Hopefully I said your name right. Carl, Dorothy,
Thank you very
Thomas.
much. Mhm.
It's been a pleasure. Any questions you have, you can always send me a message on Instagram or send me an email. And yeah, thank you very much, guys.
Bravo, Alex.
thanks, Alex.
See
Yeah.
you,
Appreciate it.
Alex.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye bye, everyone.